Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, where we discuss all the news in the world of soccer. As always, my name is Ben Brown. I'd like to thank you once again for listening. I'm going to change it up a little bit here on the show. Normally, we talk about the Champions League before we talk about the rest of the results around Europe and respective storylines in soccer. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to start off talking about results from this weekend, talk about games upcoming later in the league, and then we'll talk about the Champions League at the end. I think I want to leave it on the Champions League, especially with the second leg upcoming games, tomorrow and Wednesday, and then next Tuesday and next Wednesday. So I think I want to start off talking about the results from last week and end with the Champions League this week, because that's going to be the lasting impression that we're going to leave with going into the next couple of days in soccer. So, with that being said, let's talk about results from this weekend. And you know what? I'm going to start off with La Liga, because we have a lot of La Liga storylines to talk about, and we have two match days to look at. We had games midweek and games here at the weekend, including one later today. Sevilla will be playing Alaves later today. So I really wanted to leave off with the Champions League. I think that's the best case scenario. So let's start off with La Liga here. On Tuesday, Real Sociedad and Eibar played. It was a 2-2 draw. Valencia with a 1-0 victory over Leganes. And on Tuesday, Real Betis defeat Malaga 2-1. Barcelona, absolutely huge game on Wednesday, 6-1. Lionel Messi, 2 goals and 2 assists in that game. Villarreal, 4-1 over Osasuna. And here's the surpriser here. Las Palmas and Real Madrid played to a 3-3 draw. Real Madrid were down 3-1 with 10 men. Gareth Bale did get sent off in this game. But some late game heroics from Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, gets a couple of goals there to escape the loss and get 1 point for Los Blancos. A huge win, or not win there, but huge point there for Real Madrid, given how Barcelona are playing lately. Luis Enrique did mention earlier last week that he's going to be stepping down as manager of Barcelona at the end of the season. I really do feel like he was kind of forced out a little bit. I think they basically said to him and said, either you say you're leaving or we're going to sack you. Because I don't know why you'd want to leave Barcelona. Seriously. I mean, why would you want to leave the best team in the world? Like, that just doesn't make sense. So I really do think that they gave him the option to basically resign and say he's leaving or get sacked. I think that was the case. But anyways, they're playing great, and Real Madrid to get 1 point there was big, given that they lost midweek to Valencia last week. It seems like these midweek games are maybe the troublesome area here for Real Madrid. So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting. I thought that Real were going to really run away with La Liga, but they've kind of stepped it down a little bit, and Barcelona are playing great. Sevilla have been consistent all year. I think we're really going to be in a 3-horse race. Even Atletico are playing better as of late, but I think they're just shot themselves in the foot maybe a little too much. We'll talk about the table in just a minute. But so, as I said, Real Madrid with a 3-3 draw against Las Palmas. Espanyol and Celta Vigo, 2-2 draw. Granada with a 2-1 victory over Alaves. On Thursday, Atletico Madrid did draw with Deportivo 1-1, and Sevilla did beat Atletico Bilbao 1-0. Now let's take a look at weekday 26. On Friday, Real Sociedad defeat Real Betis 3-2. Leganes do defeat Granada 1-0. Real Madrid did bounce back with a 4-1 victory over Eibar. A couple of goals in that game from Karim Benzema. Villarreal 2-0 over Espanyol. And Barcelona, once again, a huge victory, 5-0 over Celta Vigo, really rolling in great into their Champions League matchup this week against Paris Saint-Germain. Sporting Gijón and Deportivo did meet on Sunday. Deportivo did win 1-0. Atletico Madrid bounced back with a 3-0 victory over Valencia. A couple of goals in that game from Antoine Griezmann. Las Palmas do defeat Osasuna 5-2. Atletico Bilbao defeat Malaga 1-0. And today, as I mentioned, Sevilla and Alaves. You look at the La Liga table. Barcelona are top, although Real Madrid and Sevilla both have a game in hand. Barcelona 26 games, they have 60 points. Real Madrid just 1 point back with 59, and Sevilla at 55. Atletico Madrid, 26 games played, only 49 points. So they are 6 points back of Sevilla, 10 of Real Madrid. Both those teams do have a game in hand as well. So you're looking at maybe 9 and 13 in total. So Atletico Madrid really, really falling back. I mean, it's just not really there for them this season. But this 3-horse race at the top is going to be very, very interesting. Let's give Real Madrid and Sevilla both a victory in their game in hand. Let's just give that. That would give Real Madrid a 2-point lead over Barcelona and a 4-point lead over Sevilla. And Sevilla would only be 2 points back of Barcelona. So that battle for the top 3 there in La Liga is going to be very interesting as we have about 12 to 13 games left depending on teams. Very, very interesting to see what happens there. At the bottom of the table, Osasuna have 10 points. Sporting Gijón have 17 points, and Granada have 19, and then Deportivo with 23, Leganes with 24, Malaga with 26. So it looks like Osasuna will for sure get relegated. Sporting Gijón and Granada definitely in bad spots as well. So let's look at the Premier League now. The Premier League on Saturday, Manchester United and Bournemouth played to a 1-1 draw. Another draw for Manchester United. They have 10 draws in the league. That's the second most only to Middlesbrough, who are tied with them. 10 draws in the league. They had a really good chance to win. Zlatan Ibrahimovic did have his penalty saved in the second half. Little incident there with Zlatan Ibrahimovic as well. I mean, maybe lucky to get sent off. He also got stamped on in the head. So, I mean, that's not looking good. Crystal Palace did defeat West Brom 2-0. Swansea City defeat Burnley 3-2. Late goal there from Fernando Llorente to give Swansea the win. Southampton and Watford played to a crazy goal fest. 4-3 do Southampton win that game. And how about Leicester City? On Monday, I talked about how it was the worst decision to sack Claudio Ranieri I've ever seen. It was disrespectful, a disgrace to the honor of him. And what do they do later that day? Well, they defeat Liverpool 3-1. A couple of goals in that game from Jamie Vardy. And now on Saturday, they play Hull City. And what do? They defeat Hull City 3-1. Leicester City sack Claudio Ranieri and win their next 2 games in the Premier League. So maybe it was the best decision to get rid of him? I still wouldn't have done it. I still think they have to hang their heads because they started playing great now, and they really showed a lot of intensity and passion that they didn't show under Ranieri the last couple of weeks. And that's really, really poor. But they're returning back to their winning ways. They have a little cushion now at the bottom of the table. We'll talk about it in a minute. So I don't think Leicester are going to get relegated, and they're back returning and flying high. 3-1 over Hull City. Stoke City get a couple of goals from Marko Arnautovic to defeat Middlesbrough 2-0. And that takes us to the nightcap on Saturday. Liverpool and Arsenal. Liverpool win 3-1 over Arsenal. Goals from Roberto Firmino, Sadio Mane, and Gigi Wijnaldum right before the end of the game to ice it. I don't know what to say about Arsenal. I mean, they're in really just a mess right now. They are a mess of a club right now. And that's, honestly, I hate to say that because I am an Arsenal supporter. So it's tough. It's really, really tough for me to say that. But I got to just talk some truth here. They're in an absolute mess. As far as what they're doing at the manager position is just really up in the air. A lot of people have been adamant that Arsene Wenger's time at Arsenal is just finished. I mean, there's nothing else for him to do. He just can't do it anymore. He looks like a beaten man. It's time for a change. He's been there 21 years now. And then there's some that say you can't disrespect a guy that turned Arsenal around, gave them the Invincibles, and has been the best manager the club has ever seen. And I understand both scenarios. But when I look at Arsenal right now, I think it really is time for a change. They just don't look like a team that wants to play under Arsene Wenger anymore. They just don't look like a team that has the heart and the passion, and that's just not on the manager, that's on the players, because they're not consistently going out there and giving it their all and fighting. I think everything Arsene Wenger has done in the past 21 years has been fantastic, but he just looks like a beaten man, honestly. You look at Saturday, Mesut Ozil is out with an illness, arguably your second best player. That's tough to do when you're going into Anfield. And then Arsene Wenger decides to drop Alexis Sanchez and his 20 goals in all competitions this season. He runs a 4-4-2 with Danny Welbeck and Olivier Giroud up top. He says that there's no fitness issues with Sanchez, no injuries. He just simply dropped him as a tactical change. He thought that they needed to be better in the air, so he had two physical presences up front. Alexis Sanchez is your best player. He's having a fantastic season, the best season he's had at Arsenal in his 3. He's got to be the first name on the team sheet in my eyes every single game that he's fit. Whether you're playing a non-league side, in the Champions League, in the Premier League, at Anfield especially, one of the toughest atmospheres to win at. And Liverpool, who have absolutely thrashed everyone in the top 6. They have the most points within the top 6 in head-to-head matchups. Arsenal last. I was not surprised Arsenal lost this game. Going into it, even before the team sheet, I thought Liverpool would win either 3-1 or 2-0, which was the score, 3-1. And I just don't really get the justification of dropping Alexis Sanchez. He's already been rumored to maybe leave in the summer, and you can't really blame the guy. He and Ozil are both not signing contract extensions yet. I mean, simply put, they're just in a world of disarray right now, and they got to figure something out. Coming up next, tomorrow, is Bayern Munich, and they're down 5-1 in the Champions League. That ought to be interesting to look at. I mean, yeah, not so much, but we'll preview that at the end of the show. So anyways, back onto the games. Tottenham with a 3-2 victory over Everton. Harry Kane, once again, absolutely flying high. 2 goals in this game, 19 overall. The season leads him in the Premier League. He's playing fantastic. Man City get a couple of goals at Sunderland to win there. And today we have West Ham against Chelsea. So you look at the table. Chelsea have a 7-point lead with the win today over West Ham would go back to 10. Tottenham in second with 56 points. Man City a game in hand with 55 points. Liverpool in fourth with 52 points. Arsenal out of the Champions League spots right now in 5th with 50 points. Manchester United still in 6th with 49 points, only 1 point back. Everton with the loss have been playing great, although they did lose yesterday. They're in 7th with 44 points. West Brom in 8th with 40 points. Look at the bottom of the table. Sunderland, they're last with 19. Hull City, 19th with 21. Middlesbrough, 18th with 22. Crystal Palace, couple of back-to-back wins here. Really nice wins. So they're at 25 points now in 17th. Swansea City moving their way up the table as well. They're in 16th with 27 points. And then you have Leicester City and Bournemouth as well with 27. So they have a 5-point cushion there away from the relegation zone. A couple of wins in a row for Leicester has been magnificent for them as they look to avoid being the first team to win the Premier League and then get relegated the next season. Let's go to the Bundesliga. Talk about the league in Germany. On Friday, RB Leipzig and Augsburg played to a 2-2 draw. So bad result there for RB Leipzig. It's tough enough as it is to defeat and overcome the power that is Bayern Munich. But when you lose games like that and you drop points the way they have this game, it's really, really tough. So they get a 2-2 draw there against Augsburg, who's at one of the teams at the bottom of the table. So definitely not one of the best results there from them. So tough there for RB Leipzig. But anyways, moving on to Saturday, Werder Bremen pick up a 2-0 victory over Darmstadt. Borussia Dortmund absolutely thrashed Bayer Leverkusen, forced them to fire their manager as well. They win 6-2, a couple of goals from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. They got 3 goals in 13 minutes at the end of the game. Dortmund flying high there, 6-2. Mainz and Wolfsburg played to a 1-1 draw. Hoffenheim, big victory over Ingolstadt, 5-2. Bayern Munich, 3-0 over FC Cologne. A goal in the last minute there by Frank Ribery. Borussia Mönchengladbach defeat Schalke 4-2. FC Freiburg defeat Eintracht yesterday 2-1. And Hamburg defeat Hertha Berlin 1-0. So you look at the Bundesliga table, of course, Bayern Munich, no surprise they're at the top, 56 points. RB Leipzig in second with 49 points. And then you drop all the way to Dortmund. They are in third with 43 points. They are 13 points back of Bayern Munich already. You got to imagine that Bayern are already running away with this thing with only give or take a few games left. There's a little bit of games in hand and everything. So, I mean, you're looking at 36 games, 13 left. They have a 7-point lead. I mean, it's all but over. Hoffenheimer in 4th with 41 points. Hertha Berlin 5th with 37. Look at my bottom of the table. Darmstadt, they are in last with 12. Ingolstadt, 18 points in the 17th position. And Amberg, they are in 16th with 23 points. But as are Wolfsburg, just on goal differential. So, Werder Bremen, they have 25 points through 23 games. They're in 14th. Schalke, 13th with 27 points. So, still a 4-point cushion there for some of these teams to work their way up. And I guess down as well into the relegation zones there. Looking at Serie A now. Serie A, big game this weekend was Roma and Napoli. I did expect Roma to win this game, but I was wrong. Napoli pick up a couple of goals from Dries Mertens, including one dog peeing on the corner flag celebration to pick up a 2-1 victory over Roma. Big result there for Napoli, dropping to Atalanta last week. Defeating Roma here is a really big game. Sampdoria defeat Pescara 3-1. AC Milan defeat Chievo 3-1 as well. On Sunday, Atalanta and Fiorentina play to a 0-0 draw. Inter Milan get a couple of goals from Ivan Perisic to defeat Cagliari 5-1. Torino get a 7-minute hat trick from Andrea Bolatti. The Italian striker has been magnificent this season for Torino to defeat Palermo 3-1. Genoa defeat Empoli 2-0. Juventus pick up their first draw of the season with a 1-1 draw against Udinese. I think they just maybe had a little bit, just maybe lacked a little bit there. They were trailing. Leonardo Bonucci got a goal there in the second half to tie, and they couldn't really get much done from there. Crotone and Sassuolo played to a 0-0 draw, and then Lazio pick up a 2-0 victory over Bologna. So look at the table now. I guess you can say big winners are Napoli because they bounced back from that loss to Atalanta to get a big win over Roma. They're still 10 points back of Juventus, but only 2 points back of Roma, so they have a good shot of getting second in the league as they were last year. Roma 59 points, Napoli 57 points, Lazio in 4th with 53, Atalanta in 5th with 52. You have Inter Milan in 6th with 51, and AC Milan in 7th with 50. So to get that Champions League spot, that top 4 is going to be very interesting here. You can even look at all the way down to 7 with AC Milan. Only 3 points back right now of Lazio. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens here in Serie A. I mean, Juventus are kind of running away from it. They have an 8-point lead now over Roma. But for that Champions League spot, that 4th position is going to be very tight. You can look at 4 teams who can honestly get there. At the bottom of the table, Pescara, they have 12 points. Crotone's in 19th with 14. Palermo is in 18th with 15. There's a 7-point gap to Empoli. They have 22 points in the 17th position. So a 7-point cushion there. Going to be tough to overcome for Crotone, Pescara, and Palermo there. Looking at the League One match day results from this weekend. On Friday, Lyon and Bordeaux played to a 1-1 draw. On Saturday, PSG pick up a 1-0 victory over Nancy Lorraine. Angers pick up a 3-2 victory over Caen. Metz and Rennes played to a 1-1 draw. Saint Etienne and Bastia played to a 0-0 draw. A lot of draws. Montpellier and Ginkamp to a 1-1 draw. Nice pick up a 1-0 victory over Dijon. It's a big result there. Yesterday, Dimitri Payet and Marseille defeat Lorient 4-1. Payet did score in this game. Monaco, they score goals. That's what they do. 4-0 victory over Nantes. 2 goals from the young 18-year-old sensation Kylian Mbappe. Toulouse and Lille played to a 1-1 draw as well. As you look at the League One table, you still have Monaco atop with a 65-point edge there. They have PSG in second at 62 and Nice in third with 62. Then you have a huge drop-off. Lyon, 15 points back of third place Nice. So, it's really just a battle of the top 3 there. And then fourth, whoever can get in that spot there between Lyon and Bordeaux and Marseille, even Saint Etienne possibly. They're in 7th with 40 points. Look at the bottom of the table. You have Lorient. They have 22 points. Bastia with 25. Dijon in 18th with 27. Then you have Nancy-Lorraine in 17th with 28. Lille in 16th with 30. Then you have a couple of teams with 31 points. That's Metz and Caen, 15th and 14th, respectively. That segment went on pretty long, but a lot of good storylines. We'll take our first break of the show. After the break, we're going to talk about games upcoming this week all around the world of soccer. A lot of big ones. We'll preview them next here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back into the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. Going to be really, really quick here. I want to talk a lot about the Champions League and some of the storylines here. So, coming up this upcoming week in soccer in the respective leagues, in the Premier League, we don't have too many games. A lot of teams in FA Cup action this weekend. So on Wednesday, Manchester City will be playing Stoke City. This was a game that was scheduled for Saturday, but of course, Man City in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. They'll be playing Middlesbrough, who will not be playing Sunderland this week. That's a big, big game for Middlesbrough and Sunderland, both teams that are in the drop zone to get relegated there. So that'll be a big 6-point game when that game finally kicks off. So on Saturday, we do have Hull City will be playing Swansea City, another big, big game there. Two teams are on the bottom of the table. I'm sorry. Hull City are in 19th place. Swansea City are moving their way up a little bit under Paul Clement, playing really well. Everton will battle West Brom. Middlesbrough will take on West Ham. And then on Sunday, we have Liverpool against Burnley. The rest of the games are all canceled or postponed for the time being because of FA Cup action. So we do not have Arsenal and Leicester City playing. We do not have Crystal Palace and Tottenham playing. Southampton and Manchester United. I'd love to see that game because of the EFL Cup final last Sunday. It was fantastic. And then on Monday, Chelsea will not be playing Watford. So, sorry, but those games will be made up during further notice, and everything will be good to go. So, let's look ahead now to La Liga. On Wednesday, Deportivo will be battling Real Betis. Game there that they're making up there. On Friday, Espanyol will take on Las Palmas. On Saturday, a lot of great games. We have Valencia taking on Sporting Gijon. Malaga and Alaves will battle. Sevilla will take on Leganes. And Granada will take on Atletico Madrid. On Sunday, Real Sociedad will battle Atletico Bilbao. Deportivo La Coruña, after their game on Wednesday, will be battling Barcelona, who are playing absolutely phenomenal recently. So, gotta be tough to really see Deportivo beating Barcelona, especially given they're going to be on short rest playing Wednesday and then on Sunday. Celta Vigo will battle Villarreal. Real Madrid will look to finally just try and get on a nice little winning streak against Real Betis. And then on Monday, Osasuna will battle off against Eibar. Let's look at the Bundesliga games upcoming. On Friday, Bayer Leverkusen and under new management will take on Werder Bremen. On Saturday, Bayern Munich will take on Eintracht. Darmstadt will battle Mainz. RB Leipzig will be battling against Wolfsburg. SC Freiburg will take on Hoffenheim. Hertha Berlin and Dortmund will battle. That's probably the biggest game of the weekend in the Bundesliga. You're looking at two teams within the top 5. Dortmund 3rd and Hertha Berlin in 5th, and 6 points do separate those two teams. Ingolstadt will be battling FC Cologne. On Sunday, we have Schalke against FC Augsburg, and Hamburg will be battling off against Borussia Mönchengladbach. In Serie A, on Friday, big matchup here. Juventus against AC Milan. Number 1 versus 7 overall. Doesn't seem like too much, but when you're looking at these two teams, only separated by 17 points, which is a lot. But, as I mentioned in the earlier segment, in Serie A, you're looking at that 4th position. 4 teams are separated by 3 points. A big game here for AC Milan. They are capable of beating Juventus. They did do it earlier in the Super Cup Italia, although it was on penalties. But still, they do have a victory over Juve to their name this season. So, perhaps they could win again in Serie A this weekend. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Genoa will battle Sampdoria on Saturday. A lot of games on Sunday, including Sassuolo against Bologna. Inter Milan against Atalanta, another big matchup there for that final 4th position. Chievo will battle against Empoli. Fiorentina will taking on Cagliari. Napoli will battle against Crotone. Pescara will battle Udinese. Palermo will battle Roma. And on Monday, obviously this could be a game with a lot of goals scored. We have Lazio and Torino. Now you're looking over to talk about League One. League One on Saturday, we have a lot of games. We have Monaco and Bordeaux. We have Montpellier against Nantes. We have Rennes against Dijon. We have Gincamp against Bastia. And we have Nancy-Lorraine against Lille. We also have Marseille against Angers. Nice against Caen. And on Sunday, we're looking at Saint-Etienne against Metz. Lyon against Toulouse. And Lorient against Paris Saint-Germain. So, looking at League One, it's really a three-horse race. Monaco, PSG, and Nice. I'm going to be really interested to see what happens when these three teams go head-to-head in the few meetings they have later in the season. It's going to decide a lot. Going to decide a lot of leeway as far as who's going to really win that league. Monaco, with the amount of goals they can score, they have 82 goals in the league. The next highest is PSG at 56, so they almost have 30 more goals than them. They have 26 to be exact. And they don't really concede that much. They have 25 goals they've given up, which is third least in the league. So Monaco are just really, really flying high this season. It's really their season. I would still give the edge to PSG, though. They're by far a better team. They don't have maybe as many goal threats, but balance is a lot better at PSG. And Monaco, but with the amount of goals they score, it's hard to beat them because they're scoring 2-3 goals every single time out. So it's going to be really, really tough. But it'll be really fun to watch and see how these teams progress near the end of the French League season. So we'll take our last break of the show. We're going to talk about the Champions League. As I mentioned, I want to end the show talking the Champions League, getting ready for the second legs of the round of 16 coming up here, starting tomorrow. A lot of great games. Real Madrid and Napoli, and Arsenal and Bayern Munich. And then on Wednesday, of course, you have to look at PSG and Barcelona, and then Dortmund and Benfica. So we'll preview those right after the break here at the Golden State Media Concept Soccer Podcast.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concept Soccer Podcast. Talking some Champions League before we end it for the week. Tomorrow, Napoli and Real Madrid and Arsenal and Bayern Munich. Wednesday, Dortmund and Benfica and Barcelona and PSG. So first off, we'll just go in order. Napoli will be facing Real Madrid. They are facing a 3-1 deficit as well, returning back to Italy. So if you look at the ways Napoli can win, they would simply need a 2-0 victory over Real Madrid in order to advance into the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. The chances of doing that, though, not very high. Real Madrid have scored at least a goal in over 40 games, so the chances of them getting a clean sheet against them are definitely very, very tough. They played really, really great in the first leg. They were down 1-0 behind a goal from Lorenzo Insigne. Then they bounced back and get 3 of them. So it's going to be tough for Napoli. They're going to have to really, really score, really bring the pressure to Real Madrid. And to go and defeat the European champions like that, I really don't see it happening. Do they have a shot? Of course they do. They have a great front three. Lorenzo Insigne, Dries Mertens having the season of his life, and Jose Callejon. Marek Hamšík in the midfield is always fantastic as well. Is it possible? Yes, absolutely. Anything is possible, but I don't see it happening. Maybe they can get a victory, maybe like a 3-2, maybe a 2-1, but I don't see Real Madrid getting shut out. Getting that away goal would just really put that icing on the cake and really shut down Napoli. Now you look over at the other side on Tuesday. You have Arsenal against Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have a 5-1 lead currently. So for Arsenal to win and advance into the quarterfinals of the Champions League, they have to win 4-0 tomorrow. I don't see any way in God's green earth that Arsenal can defeat Bayern Munich 4-0. Arsene Wenger had a press conference this morning over in the United States, midday there in Europe. And he said that Mesut Ozil is going to be out with a sickness, so he's still sick, so arguably your second best player and your best creator in that midfield is going to be gone for this game. As far as what he does with the rest of the starting 11, who knows? Last year, when they were down 2-0 to Barcelona going back to Spain, he played a weaker squad, kind of accepting defeat, which is tough to really do and really accept for the fans and for the players. But, I mean, going against Barcelona, we all knew how tough it was. Now you're down 5-1 to Bayern. I mean, this is even harder to come back from. It's a 4-goal deficit. Yeah, you got an away goal, but still, you have to win 4-0 now to really give yourself a shot. That's not going to happen. As far as what team Arsene Wenger will pick tomorrow, it's going to be interesting. I think one guy for sure going to be playing is Alexis Sanchez because of him getting left out on Saturday. Arsene Wenger did say he does stand up and back his decision to do that, but he's the best player. He didn't really play. He only played a half against Liverpool. Came on, had an assist to Danny Welbeck, but he's got to be playing tomorrow. I think he'll probably play. And as far as the rest of the guys, I don't really know. I think I'd maybe give a shot to some guys who you haven't really seen consistently in the starting 11 for Arsenal. Maybe guys like Lucas Perez. Danny Welbeck did score against Liverpool. Maybe you give him a shot. A couple of guys that did not start in the first leg at the Allianz Arena in Bayern Munich. So I maybe give them a shot. Maybe see what they can do. As far as the rest of the starting 11, maybe a mixture of regular guys. You're not going to come back against Bayern, even with their starting squad out there. It's just not going to happen. So maybe you put a couple of guys in there. Maybe you rest a couple of guys, get them ready for the rest of the Premier League season. You're fifth right now, so you have to try and get into that top four again and get in the Champions League next year. So I'd maybe go with maybe a mix. See what you can do. Maybe you can get some team chemistry going. Maybe you see some guys perform that you haven't necessarily seen on a regular basis and potentially give them some more games. So that's probably what I would do. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. I expect Bayern to win. Really just win in general and then win, obviously, aggregate already. So we'll see what happens. Now on Wednesday, we're going to talk about Borussia Dortmund and Benfica. Dortmund are going back to Germany, facing a 1-0 deficit. Of course, Benfica scoring from Kostas Matroglou there in the first leg. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang did miss a penalty in that first leg, but they are going back to Germany. That one of the toughest atmospheres to play in is where Borussia Dortmund do. They're down 1-0. They played great at the weekend. Like I said, 6-2 over Bayer Leverkusen. So all Dortmund need is a 2-0 victory to advance into the quarterfinals. If they do get a 1-0 victory, then it will go into extra time. Because Dortmund did not get that away goal, it's super, super tough. There technically is no tiebreaker right now. I think Benfica will definitely play back, play on the counter, try to strike on the counter as they did in the first leg. If they're able to get a goal, especially early in the game, then I think you got to give Benfica some credit because that would kind of put them through in my eyes. They'd have a 2-0 aggregate lead. They'd have that away goal, which Dortmund don't have. So technically, Dortmund would have to score 3 goals at that point to advance, and there would be no extra time. So if they can get an away goal early and then really just kind of park the bus and play defense, I think Benfica will be able to get through. But I really do expect Dortmund to fly high. Aubameyang's going to want to answer back and fire back at the critics about his penalty miss. And we're going through some bad form at that time. Only 2 wins in the last 10 comps at that point. But they're playing really well recently in the Bundesliga. And I'm sure they'll take a lot of that momentum into Wednesday's game. And I think they'll beat Benfica and advance into the last 8 of the Champions League. Now we look at Barcelona and PSG. This game is at the Camp Nou at Barcelona. But the Spanish champions are facing a bit of a deficit. They're down 4-0 to PSG. 4-0. Do they have a chance to come back? Of course they do. This is Barcelona. Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, Neymar. They have all the capabilities of coming back from a 4-0 deficit. There's one problem. Well, really, there's 4 problems going against them. They're down 4 goals. That's a lot to overcome against any team, let alone a team like PSG, as good as they are. A lot of balance all around the field. Up front, in the midfield, in the back 4. They're very, very good and well organized. I expect PSG to really, really play defensive. They'll have their chances, probably strike on the counter against Barcelona. They're not going to play as bad as they did in Paris. They're going to play a lot better. They're going to get at least a couple of goals in this game in my eyes. But to come back 4-0 is tough. If PSG even score, you can literally put their chances from maybe 1% to 0%. Barcelona have to win 4-0 to put this game in extra time and win 5-0 to out-and-out win to get into the last 8. I don't see it happening. PSG are too good, especially in the midfield. People like Marco Verratti, Blaise Matuidi. They had Adrien Rabiot, who played great in the first leg. There's no way that Barcelona is going to overcome this. I would take a Herculean effort from a lot of guys and PSG to kind of really collapse because they're going to play really defensive and they have a lot of great players. It's not like they're playing really, really poor, and it's not like they're a poor side. They're a very fantastic side. So it's going to be tough for Barcelona. Can they come back? Yes. You do have Messi, Suarez, and Neymar. That's fantastic. But to overcome 4-0 against any team's tough, especially PSG. That's going to end it for today, guys. I'd like to thank you for listening. Once again, my name is Ben Brown, signing off here at the Golden State Media Concept Soccer Podcast. I'll be back next week talking all things Champions League, results from this week, as well as previewing next week, and just every other storyline and game in the world of soccer here at the Golden State Media Concept Soccer Podcast. Have a good day. Have a good week. And we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.